Evidence of woodwork. First one in here. Thing.
Debbie, you got your speech ready?
Yeah. She's ready. Okay, we'll start the second budget workshop for the 2020-21 general fund budget to start with. I did make some adjustments this past weekend, and I've emailed you an updated copy of those adjustments. They were a couple of things in the revenue. If you'll come down to the intergovernmental revenue section, I did get an updated amount on state shared sales tax. And I bumped that up a little bit. We did have it at $295.60, and I've upped it to $305.088. And then I got an updated number on the state gasoline and fuel tax, and we had that at $116,224, and now we've got it at $119,856. So those two items did increase on the state shared revenue. I'm just going to go down this list, these notes, these budget notes that I had emailed you. A couple of things. I did remove the connector trail project, which is the trail between Irwin and County Unicoi. I removed it from the revenue, which was $112,500, and I also removed the $125,000 in expenditures. So that's also an adjustment. On the legislative expenses, which is the first section in expenditures, I increased the $3,000 that we had for election fees to $3,800 because I went back to 2016 and we paid almost $3,800 at that time. So we increased that. On the central staff, I think I adjusted the payroll taxes to make them a little bit more accurate. Also adjusted the interfund transfer on the MHK kitchen because her payroll taxes and state retirement had been left off. So again, moving down to the other government expenses, took the $125,000 off of the connector trail. Also lowered the ARC power trail, the Buffalo Valley connector. That's highlighted in blue for the ones that I've made changes in. I adjusted that amount. It was at 410,000 down to 362,000. That's based on what we have paid over the last, I think it's gone back like maybe 3 fiscal years. And most of that has been some engineering costs, basically.
What was that now?
On the ARC Power Trail grant. I went through and for the last several years and removed what we had already paid. Okay, if you want to take a look at the public safety, which is right down from that next section, on the adjustments that we made, Unicoi Volunteer Fire Department, we put it back to what we had budgeted for this year, which is $40,800. Their requested amount was $98,000. The animal control went from 60 down to 45. And the emergency medical services, I think there was a question about the amount that we had in there. This is the amount that's in the interlocal agreement. And Jeff had spoken with someone with that board, that's probably what we need to keep in there is the 28,340. So I left that. That's what we had originally, and then we had a question about another amount, so it's now the 28,340. Okay, the next section is the public works, and if you'll move on down to the highlighted blue numbers, we did get some estimates from Terry Haynes on Friday. He and the mayor were out looking at several projects to see approximately how much it would be in use of the grant money, the $108,939. The culverts on Massachusetts on the left and right side, I think y'all have an estimate on that. I got his estimate this morning, and it does show 31,000 for both sides. So I had 30,000 in there. So that's we'll have to make an adjustment on that. To pave Ogle, which was one of the streets that we had on the FEMA projects, which we just don't know where that stands right now. The same estimate that we had from August is the 30,000. And then we talked about paving Washington, which is a street right behind Town Hall, because of the bridge project that will be over Indian Creek, and adding 3 speed bumps, and that approximate cost would be $25,000. Someone mentioned doing guardrail on Martleton, and that's just an estimate. I don't know how much feet that will be. But anyway, those projects, including a used police car at $15,000 would pretty much leave you about $8,939 for the guardrail at Martleton.
Where are you talking about there?
The Jerry Vance's, the curve at Jerry's house.
In that curve?
That steep curve, yeah. Yeah.
So that's a thought. That's, I did move the interstate mowing into this public works from out of the gateway enhancement. I split that up a little bit to do a little bit, some mowing in the gateway enhancement, which would be the exits. And again, if you take the 3 that are highlighted, 1, 2, 3, 4 projects that are highlighted in blue, pulled that amount out of what we had in street maintenance repair, the $350,000. And then if you add a used police car of $15,000, that takes care of your $108,939. This is just suggestion of how we use it. So that's up to you all. That it's a place to start. You move on down to public welfare and donations, and the next section down, you can see the highlighted, the blue column is where we reduced the requested amount, and we reduced that total column down to $12,697, which makes it total $22,200 for what we've reduced. If y'all want to review that and see if that's in agreement with what we discussed, because make sure I have them accurate. I did go and check out the YMCA. They requested $5,000. They sent a letter and they did not send any other kind of documentation in, so that's kind of why it wasn't. The amount wasn't on the appropriation list.
Maybe I had some suggestions for the language about how the street matters are referred to, just to tie in with the language of what's permitted from the grant. It has some specific wording in there.
Okay.
Suggested we put in.
Yeah, actually, First Tennessee Development, Ken Ray and Lance Lowry have offered to help us with that, application and resolution. So I'll probably definitely, get with them on whenever it's decided, what to do.
I just thought if we track the language from the grant permitted items in the budget appropriation, it would be clearer that that's where that is coming from.
Okay.
And might make it easier to get through.
Okay.
Those items meet that requirement, don't they?
They do.
Okay, on the next section, which is debt service, I've verified all those numbers. We're good on that. We will move forward to see if we can refinance some of these loans. The only one I have a question about is the sewer bond. I know sometimes there's some stipulations with sewer bond, but we'll look to refinance hopefully. I think it's total is a little less than 2 million altogether. The next section, the gateway enhancement, mowing exits 32 and 34, I included here. That was not a budgeted item. So I put 4,000. I don't think that's enough, quite frankly, but that's, where we're starting. So if anybody's got any thoughts about that.
Didn't somebody say it was like 800 each exit, each mow? Or
It's not,
800
it's,
each mow?
it's each mowing time is 800. And I did hear every couple of weeks and then I said, how, what about every 3 weeks? And, so that's something you all can talk about, what you want to do about that, because it was not budgeted.
Probably
About
determines
6
all the
months,
rain
so-
we have too, that's just like mowing your own lawn, sometimes.
Well, that's what the interstate
More or
gets
less,
6 months.
Yeah, the interstate is, we get reimbursed for 6 mowings. We get reimbursed for 12 litter pickups.
Mhm.
So this is kind of,
We don't get reimbursed
think-
for this part, is that what you're saying?
no. I think what was happening, I think it was coming out of the 350,000 before.
Yeah.
When I'm saying it wasn't budgeted, I think it was included in that 350. So I think that it would be better, rather than mixing that all together, to have the gateway section, just the interstate, the exit part, and keep it separate from actual money that we get reimbursed from the state.
So we could go for so long and then go into the road budget if we had to pull. If we needed more for that.
That's correct.
But 6 times 8, I'm not a big fan of the 6 times 8 is 48.
Yeah, this is just 5.
So theoretically, it could be done. It would have to,
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's what you want to do, we can go ahead and put it at 48.
But we may not have to do it every time.
Yeah, that's right. No, we just,
Danny and Tony, maybe that.
yeah, and if you can pull it from pull that from the road thing. that would start. Yes, but-
Leave it at 4. Okay, that's pretty much, I believe, all the changes that have been made.
Sometimes ask me about the kitchen equipment and all that. That stuff has been paid by the grant.
Yeah.
That's another grant.
Yeah, everything she had on that list that she turned in qualifies for reimbursement on her grant, her ARC power grant.
What our percentage is, what, 30% of it, you pay 30%.
That grant ends in October. I've asked her to hold off in June and not purchase, to spread things out because of cash flow. And because, June is coming right into year end, it's better to not buy things if it's not, needed. I'm not just talking about the kitchen, I'm talking about everything, because that way we get our invoices in quicker. If we kind of cut off at May, get our invoices in, it makes it much cleaner to end the year and go ahead and get the year closed. Then if we continue buying all the way up till the end of June. So she's trying to, pace it out because it does end in October. So. You all want to take a short break?
Yep.
Okay.
Then you put a lot of time there with this.
Well.
I know, it's a better one, process, it's one of the better.
And a lot of weekends.
It shows.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. All the best.
I had to relate to it.
And they got
I don't
it's
get
what you need to go buy
It's,
this week,
so
you know, whatever it is.
we're talking about that, like, it's not 138 that we're over. Is that about 5% over? Where, how much are we having to put? I mean. is there an
Well, I
allowance?
tell you, I look at it like this. That's what would come out of fund balance. You don't have the revenue to offset all of your expenditures. And I don't think that our expenditures that we spend everything we budget, we don't. So your fund balance would be, that's where that would come from.
And I know there's a percentage amount that's okay to over, or to be under.
You're
you go
supposed to
into
have
fiscal
about
year.
2 months worth of money in your bank.
Yeah.
In case of an emergency. And, we may be in an emergency, with what's going on.
But we have more than 2 though.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Actually, when I had talked with one of the UT MTS consultants and, projecting some of these revenues, he said, you're good.
We've got a good, yeah.
We've got a good fund
We're
balance.
like 6 months.
He said 7, but he also, the 126,000 on the snow, that's restricted.
Yeah.
Now, I know that can be unrestricted if it's used for what he meant for it to be used for.
Right.
Cultural is what, I usually don't like to count that part, but they did say 7 months, so I'm gonna say probably 6 months.
A lot of things. I think bounce around.
The last time Travis gave us a report where he explained those numbers versus, how much we had ahead, it was more than 6. It's like 8.3 or something. I didn't go back and let's look at it. It's very, if you compare yourself to every other municipality, you're way out there. Of course, our budget's small, our expenditures are small
If you drop down,
We're in good financial shape. So here in West County government, I don't know how it would compare to just the towns that's similar to our size. I don't know how they run, but we can figure that out. So, you know.
they put you on a watch list if you drop down 2 to 3 or something like that. That's about right.
And probably when you do compare a lot, it's according to what resources they've got coming in, revenues they have coming in compared to what we have too, isn't it?
Yeah. We're just in such a, an unknown situation with this sales tax. I mean,
Deborah, would it be really difficult for you in a small range of time like that to share what the balances are on our debt service on each one? Is that? too hard for you to pull? I'm just curious what the balance is, like what interest, you're talking about refinancing the sewer loan?
right, if we can, and that's something we'll have to check and see.
It's,
I mean,
percent.
we've dropped off the 175 for the schools, but we're not picking up anything to try to pay off that debt.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
had told,
increase
I
any
had
debt.
told the mayor that it's a positive that we've got that 175 that we're not gonna have to pay out.
Yeah.
But we hadn't been spending our road budget like we should this year. We're gonna be doing this
Well,
year.
if we spend, to finish, Whispering Pines, it's gonna be over 200,000.
Yeah, it's fine.
And year to date, I think we're at 176.
We got through the winter, we always have to think about what we're gonna need.
Yeah, if you want to,
We really
if you
got
wouldn't
by pretty
mind
good
anyway, just maybe shoot that money.
this winter.
I've got it right
Yeah,
here.
because we didn't have so much snow. We had a
Yeah,
little
we didn't have
rain.
much salt
We
and
didn't
rain.
We didn't.
Huh?
No, because ETSU is closed.
I mean, not.
And we can't take our students out
I don't think they saw me, what, 1 or 2 times?
Yeah, we
They did
really, we
more over
really
there.
got by with the winter part. But we say we can roll it.
But you never know when it's gonna rain until next year.
Yeah, that's
there.
what
I
I
was
said.
gonna get off that executive.
You don't want to get in there.
See,
It all stays, it all.
That's normal.
Like that.
Bad storm. Nice to get it again.
Yeah,
This is what we make our payments.
So,
We're just
yeah,
over
yeah, we've
2 million.
been hit a few times, but we thought we got by.
Sometimes they get pitches all that, then come back and rebound and start.
It will have
the ledge.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. No,
I love you.
That was going down on the creek.
It needs to be mowed really bad. The cross right there, I mean, it looks like a jungle. And his pear tree fell on his side and the best of his fits. And then on the left side, I got, he don't speak to me. I mean, he's just not a friendly person. He don't anybody. I don't even know his name that lives across the street. But the pear tree fell, all of them have, because they had them all except for one other one, and it just split the other night. And but the power company, they said, one of my neighbors said that for tree trim, he said they'll call the power company, they'll take it down because it's going to hit the power going towards the school.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell somebody to tell him that he can, that works with him, to tell him that if he'll call the power company, they'll take it down. He did take it down because it part of it's in the road. So he did solid and put it on his yard. But it needs, but down there, though, it really needs to be Terry.
Terry's supposed to start mowing this week.
Yeah, but it's been so much rain.
So this is just the-
Well, I have.
No, I'm talking about the crews. You got different crew coming after this time.
Oh, you meant.
You bet this better crews well.
Well, that's one thing they're really tied up. He said there's people that really got on here.
That guy jumped me there one day about that ditch. Went to school with him, but it's not clean that, we need that ditch for.
Oh, is that work up there across the street from me and around? Yeah. I
Bring
said,
him to
yeah.
school, bring him to school, he used to start on me about that, we need stuff. Yeah, I reported that.
It It's just a matter when they get out here, when they do it.
He's under some pressure right now.
Yes,
Probably needs some more help and more equipment.
You bought all your mowers.
Whenever you want this sheet back.
Well, you know, they don't work on Friday. They work on
Oh, yeah.
Friday.
I can get it. I've got my other stuff back there.
I can fold it up like an airplane.
4 days off on Friday.
Shoot it like an airplane.
It's 12 hours probably a day.
Yeah, the way he talks, he doesn't have much luck budget time. Now,
We don't, they find him like, Terry, that's the commission.
Okay, do you want to start next with the kitchen? Just start a couple of changes that I
Sure.
made.
Did you got?
I called and nobody answered.
actually, you,
I thought we were going to break.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we did.
okay, well, we ready, Ashley?
Well.
Yeah, no, I never
She
turned
don't
you off.
want that.
Oh, we were on during the break.
Yeah, I can't stop the live feed.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, the only thing that I did on the kitchen, she talked about that grant, the 30,000. And so I went ahead and I put that in, and it's under that TNECD grant. And that's 100% reimbursable, so I've offset that with a grant line item for the 30,000. And also, the payroll taxes added that, and the state retirement, those had formulas and had gotten locked out, so that's been put back in as well. And then we've adjusted the interfund transfer in and out of the general fund to cover that additional. Any questions on the kitchen? Lee, I think will be here after lunch. They'll eat lunch with us, and then they'll be here for questions. If anybody has any.
I have a question, just a general question. Have you gotten your renewal on your insurance policy? Renewal quote, because it runs July 1st to June 30th on everything.
So far, I haven't gotten any changes.
Okay,
So pretty much what you're looking at should be a good number.
okay. A lot of the insurance companies that need to go through the TML, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
But the premiums are staying pretty close to the same.
Yeah, and I know the workers' comp is usually based on your payroll amount, and our payroll amount has pretty much stayed the same. So we've only had, one minor.
Actually, the
Accident.
state sets those rates and you may have a decrease.
Well, we are getting I think I talked about it at one of the BMA, we are getting a check back from TML, it was, I think, well over $4,000. And also our TCRS rate went from 6.22 down to 5.79, which is a little bit of a
That's a very
decrease.
good.
It is, but that rate is also based on how many people you have retired.
Yeah.
So.
Learned a lot about that.
I did set up the drug fund that I talked about, and I just, I put $5,000 in, for court funds and costs. It's just an estimate. And I'll set it with operations line item for the 5. It's a special revenue fund. There is no fund balance in it at this time because we're just starting it. Hopefully we'll start getting some money from some of the arrests that have been made as far as. So anyway, I went ahead and set it up so that we could have a budget ordinance on it when we start taking money in. That way it's there. We can always do amendments to change it, increase it if we need to. there's a lot more line items there than what's gonna be needed, but I just went ahead and did them all and set it up. It's kind of jumping around, but as they come into my head, I just want to tell you so I don't forget. When we were with Terry Haynes on Friday afternoon, he did tell us that they're hoping to open this asphalt plant in the summer. So that's good news.
That's real good news.
Yes.
Sometimes, like I said, is, when people call in and get on the list of big repairs and stuff on a washout or repair, stuff like that. Some of the stuff we have a couple years on there and people still call me about, say, well, when you're going to fix that, it's on the list, but it's some minor stuff like washouts on Marlton or.
Well, she has a book that has all the work orders in it, and you're welcome to look at that anytime. It's just, yeah.
Are those requests not in the spreadsheet where they go out and look, but you got back to it? Because I noticed their name by road name, what the project is.
Yeah, but they're not on that one, people call in and stuff and
Yeah, he's talking about.
and you put on that sheet.
Maybe that's why I wanted.
There's no ocean on.
If we
I think
do,
some of them, like the potholes and things like that, she'll usually come in and write it on my board, because I keep one of those on my board, and she'll come in and just write them in. And then I try to update what she's wrote on there. So far, that's, that should be up to date.
if we're gonna take this money that's coming down from the governor's office and put it toward this work on Massachusetts Avenue, which is fine. We just need to make sure that everybody understands that we can't just turn around and do that everywhere because this is a special fund that comes out. Otherwise, we're backing ourselves into the corner
You might get
On
it
the right
on
side
the
of that.
record, if the Owen record, you know, explain
everywhere. So they'll-
through the Owen record, you might put it in, and then that way you've got a copy. If anybody comes and asks you about the copy, they can read it and have it on hand.
That's more for flood issues than it is for anything.
Yeah.
To address the flood issue.
what they're suggesting. But we do need to make that clear, because we are backing ourselves into the corner there.
Yeah.
Because we can't just do it everywhere, where it's out.
And if we get any other grant money later on or whatever, then we can do it, you know, let them know. This is just grant money.
You see anything about the road sinking down through in places that Massachusetts and eventually?
Well, it's obvious.
I know what you.
Down here, Hammond Street.
I know that our street, I don't know, it's just that you just hit
Well,
it.
you know what it says, Terry, you know what it says? That doggone bicycle.
That's what he said.
I told them what to put in there, and they didn't put what I said.
I mean, you change
Same thing every time you go down through.
Should've gone out there last time. That's your grant.
Yeah. But now, going down that, especially that left side, that will help right there. We've got one situation there that's gonna be kind of a roadblock. The Indian, that's it. Hello, no, that's community. And everything's fine down there to get to his house. What he's done, he's gone in to the tile, covered it all up. So if we go in there, we're gonna have to cut some kind of deal with him. Where we open that back up. And if it says something, put the tile back in there. By the tile. What Terry said. He was concerned about that part. Actually, he's not supposed to do that. He's not supposed to do that.
Well, his water stood up that little building next to it there, that one building.
He said if we don't do something right there, it's gonna cause a flood.
Now they have a lot there, like a school that next to whatever's called school there. Well, there's their whole, they're every night to get that.
They may gripe a little.
You can make it.
Fix it where they can have a gentle slope in there. That's the deal. He seems like he could do it. The left side won't be as deep as the right side. Oh, no, left side will be. Right side is. But I think he can do it. Left side. You'll have to go down a couple of feet. Slopes it. Oh. The biggest thing that I probably worry about once you get that, people that want to go in there and put a tile down through there and cover it up, that's when you get problems. That long run of tile is, but get stopped up. Okay. And to it. And that's what's happening. Bill. After that, there. Well.
We don't know yet what.
Oh, David, that's an elevator pitch back in front over there, like you said. They're at a corner, down here, they go higher streets house, or where you put that ditch and covered it for a day. But that's his daughter that across the street.
She sold that. You know what he sold? Yeah, I saw it for sale and it sold. We did ours years ago, years ago. And ours had any problem, but it's the big old concrete and then it's got a culvert that goes on down and feeds it on both sides because ours was stitches like that. But we hadn't had any problem on ours because they were big,
Yeah.
the big concrete. Now, back then they did.
What he got. Built up in there.
You probably don't have big enough house. If you had big enough house, probably all right. Yeah, because ours hasn't been, because we've done that probably third, fourth, it's probably been done 20 years. Yeah. And you probably. It's
It's a pretty good project when it gets in there. He's got to go through rock tile.
Yeah,
And you got some on concrete, some on safe.
yeah.
But
It'll take care of the problem that's been there.
It-
Long increase.
well, you know, it's never gonna take care of it. But
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
You get flooded,
Slow it down.
flood, very much.
That's what it's been there for 60 years. I remember it like that this time.
And sometimes those floods will hit places that they ever hit before too. So you're regular now. You've got to tell it us where.
Yeah, it seems like we, of course, the light, but you're not got more water, ground more saturated, soak it up.
More trees are going to fall.
Yep. That's good, that's a good idea.
See, my kid, we can get on once we get the back. Once we give him the red light that he can go on and get it done. To be busy too, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's good if you jump them early on instead of waiting until fall or something, then you can get them to try.
You know, do this rain season.
Yeah.
In there, fix it before it comes in.
If this rainy season ever goes. And all internet reads. Spring, winter.
Well, it's gonna get cold.
I know it's gonna get cold.
Hard, like.
I have to go to California, get me beaches, like, as it is marching and everything, there's thousands of people got out, because they probably couldn't get out. They did, taking the flags through.
That guardrail up on Park Road we talked about, it's been on the, yeah, pretty bad for forever.
They live on both sides right through our birthday gas thing.
Kind of a drop off, go off there. Turn over into it. I don't know how much that money wants to do, the whole thing. I did the part of it. That's just some of the roads. What's over road, waited out.
I think it'd be done, no matter
I've
what.
been waiting for years, you know, for pavement.
They just changed, they're changing another 20 people for your reason.
It's not that well.
People must all get jobs or something. That's why they.
It's such a short road on the land. Good.
Yeah, do you teach online or we're going to go back to classes?
We can't accommodate the number of students we have with social distancing. I mean, we've got 40 and 50 students in class, and the classrooms aren't working to put that many. So we're bringing them in to the auditorium, separating them just to these older facilities. You know, they meet their instructors for the semester. I don't know how it's going to go. And then we're going to have to go back online. So one of our classes is coming today. Another class is going to come tomorrow. ETSU Allendale is closed. ETSU is totally online this summer, and we've got a classroom in Allendale. ETSU Allendale, it's not open. We don't have anywhere to put them anyway. I mean, they don't have a classroom. So we're all going back online. The new students that are coming in are not coming until May 15th. So we'll bring them in, get them oriented, and then they're going to have to go out online. But we are going to plan to bring them in for testing to take their exams. And if we do that one class at a time, we can spread them out to like 3 different rooms. So we can't have everybody at the same time. But we can spread them out into other rooms to do testing. But we're going to keep all of our lectures and material and whatnot online.
This morning I talked to Linda, did the virus double last 2 days, Tennessee or something.
Well, part of it,
Part of that is they're testing the prisons.
yeah, trials day apparently.
Yeah.
They've done, so far, I think they've done 4, they're gonna do all 14 to get over with. And those numbers are high.
Prisons are famous for being high for TB, anywhere they're, you know, close like that. So, I mean, that would stand to reason. But I heard on national radio this morning, this woman had come down to Bristol and she writes for like Wall Street Journal and Washington Examiner, all these big newspapers, you know. Did a story on Bristol And on one side of State Street, you can get there and stand on the sidewalk. But on the Tennessee side, you can go in and sit down. And just what a paradox that is. And she was really pushing that Southwest Virginia is not Northum's Virginia. I mean, he is so separated.
Yeah, and I think he's actually said that he may start looking at opening up region by region for that very reason. It makes
I mean,
sense.
the rest of Virginia is not Alexandria. Or Norfolk, maybe, I don't know, anyway. But it was just really interesting, her commentary. And how the business owners were dealing with each other. She's, she talked to, they've always had a healthy competition between restaurants on either side or, you know, whatever. And, but the Tennessee restaurants that were open with seating now, they were doing really bad, you know, for the, they want them to be successful too. Anyway, and it was really a struggle seeing customers coming in and out of theirs, but not all
Oh, and another part of those big numbers is that for the first time in the last week, 2 weekends, any Tennessean that wanted to get a test could get one. Before when you had symptoms, you had to meet some
And did
standards.
you know what county this Saturday did? That was.
Getting back to the budget, one big, so we had talked about what we're gonna do about raises. Anybody got a comment on that?
that was last year, across the board, 3%.
So
We were here last year.
Social Security, cost of living on Social Security this year was 1.6.
Y'all talked about doing it across the board, and then you didn't. You ended up kind of
Yeah.
parceling it out employee by employee, and so it was not.
I don't ever recommend doing partial in and out. It's gonna be across the board.
We were pretty generous last year.
Yeah.
I believe so.
I
we
mean,
probably bring up the stuff, which had,
the national thing is 1.6.
1.6 is half of 3.
We've been given.
Debbie, are you calculating?
No, I'm looking at the debt. I was talking about, when we were talking about where we were, did you take off about 120,000 off that
I can't-
balance
From payments that have been made.
that we made on principal? Yeah, so that's 120,000 would come off of that amount that's on that audit.
Okay. Let me make a note of that. Well, we're looking at an uncertain future.
No, I did calculate some numbers if you want to hear them. But go ahead, Kathy, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, I was in the grocery store yesterday, and I don't know why I was so struck by some of the prices, like all of a sudden skyrocketed. I can't remember what it was in particular, but it was just like, I get that all the time, and I don't remember it in the price. But I can't think of I can't remember what the item was.
Well, I know that the protein is going to really,
Meat's gonna go up.
it's going to go up
You can find
out the
it.
roof. And there may be there's going to be a shortage probably.
They may all have to
this,
go back to beans and potatoes.
Then there'll be a shortage on things that are all. It used to, right? Well, at least
What
one
did you
thing,
say,
on police has not been.
1.6.
1.6, so Debbie.
I don't have 1.6, but I have a 2%. It's about $7,320 a year. An increase. Payroll right now is about $366,000.
And that would actually jump payroll taxes. And whatnot.
It
So
would,
it's,
it's about an increase of $559.98.
So it's 7,500 at 2%.
7320 with
Mhm.
560 increase in
I mean,
taxes.
it's not just that one. It's moving, it's calculated on that.
If we do it to
I mean,
1.6 this year, then we could always increase the next one.
Well, in the last few years, we've been very, very
Yeah,
generous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing our employees has not been, not growing it, you know, when they have to go home or not work. I mean,
That's true.
they kept their work, and they kept working,
That's good.
and kept getting the check.
I think Debbie deserves a good size. I mean, my personal opinion, I don't, you all do what you want to. But I like to sit down with the board and just talk about that without getting recorded.
And I won't say that I'm opposed to that, but we can't do for one.
Well, we can.
Well, what we can do maybe later on is do a bonus when we get into something, I think that
I
we
don't
could.
think you can do it, I'm still wrong.
You don't have to pay all the voices.
You have to treat all.
Well, you know, they did.
You can't do it for farm site, no. A job for farm.
Is it in our contract?
Well, we could put it in, we could. we could
She's
add
already
it.
been hired in as a
No,
contract.
but I know, but we can add it. in.
I'm just saying.
That's what we can do from time to time, but I know. No, we
You
can.
need one.
We're okay.
And we did $2,000.
Yeah,
We made that permanent.
yeah.
And then did the 1.6 on top of that.
So her
That would
bonus
treat
was made
everybody.
permanent.
We've not made it. We didn't
Yeah.
make it.
Well, on her, she came in at a hard time trying to do a mess and catch everything up, and I mean, that's on her to do that, because she was working over every weekend all the time.
You still is.
Yeah,
I
She's
know it
still
still
in,
is,
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
what I'm saying, yeah, for what she's done.
Go ahead. Thanks.
And her job is the most important, I mean,
Yep.
the top thing, I mean, whether you can do it, can't do, you know, compared to
Oh, yeah.
top tier.
I've said all along, but I know.
Well, we'll have to put somehow figure in there. If we're gonna-
I think like just the
Ponder for a little
1.6,
while.
yeah, 1.6% sounded better.
But I'm
What we did in the
betting that we
past.
did get the $2,000 bonus. If we make that permanent. As a, she's not having to deal. We make that.
Does she
permanent.
not have a contract that said when she was doing it?
I don't think so.
That's a swap.
But if we made it at the 62 and then they would increase. Everybody else.
Yeah, because now we've actually, you know, she got her two and another two, so she actually lost $4,000. Really, from what she's hired. What, 51?
Do you not believe she needs it?
Yeah.
Even if it's after the fact?
Yeah.
She's been working for a year.
I missed this week.
No contract.
$5,000 back in years.
I don't want to treat any
No, I don't.
differently.
I do.
Base salaries are different, depending on job descriptions, those are different. But in terms of raises,
Well, you know, we keep the best employees, but that's here.
That's what I'm saying.
well, there's different ways to take care.
I don't do it anymore.
You're too old for that.
People have different perceptions of what being taken care of.
Just kidding.
I have an idea comes from the work ethic world where
Well, for one thing, she is she's got her degree in her accounting, which, you know, that goes a long way, because she knows what she's doing, she knows what to look for, very precise in what she does. And that's a plus.
we hired her, we're talking about the job.
Boy, yeah, but Travis, who reviews him or talks about his contract and all that, Debbie?
he's had the bound audit books. I know I emailed you all a copy, but he has bound books, to give to the board. And I was hoping that the, Mickey Ellis would be here for our next
The
meeting
next meeting,
to
yeah.
present the audit.
That's what we did last year.
Okay.
Yeah, the night. The year that.
17, 18.
Um.
What's your
We
input?
talked
David?
about, we come back to that file.
I'll give you my input if you
Yeah.
want to hear it.
I'd like to hear your input.
I would be concerned about giving a increase, at this time, because we don't know what's gonna happen. I would suggest that in 6 months into the new year, we see what's going on. Maybe things won't be as bad for us. I don't know. I'm basically, my glass is half empty. But I mean, it concerns me when you don't know what's gonna happen. And I would advise from a financial standpoint that there aren't any increases until we see what happens.
And then we could always go on back to do that.
Yeah, you can.
No problem.
Everybody good with that? We won't worry about
So
that.
that's straight from, the horse to that.
Yeah, I just, I
She's-
wouldn't
she's
feel
got-
good. I
she's
mean, I'm
got
very
2%.
conservative
She's
and.
got two perspectives, a financial perspective, yet she's also.
and
That
Yeah.
concerns me more than she's.
We gotta do a lot about her too.
That's right.
That's what bothers me. Can we get a contract negotiator? with her?
And I didn't ask for a raise
Who
either.
needs to do, somebody needs to do it. Anybody gonna do that? She doesn't have a contract, she's working without an employee.
Lois, can you do work on that?
It was everyone.
Hey, you are at your contract. That's it.
I've never been in a situation where I've had a contract.
Well, you need their own. I mean, you can expect.
David, this figure you're going by, how much percentage was it? You went back 5%? 2%?
No, I did it on 2%, I did it on 3%, I did it on 4%, and I did it on 5%, just to see what it was.
I'm going to agree with David. Because of that sales tax is the information I'm reading. It's so much of an unknown, and based on where our sales tax actually
What's
comes
the
in from.
latest?
The TML latest said that food sales have increased.
Yeah.
What's getting hit is clothing, but we don't get a tremendous amount of sales tax revenue off clothing. And cars, and we don't have the sales tax revenue off of that, except for, and they're gonna sell the same amount of cars over here at H&H.
There's a new one down where Payne, H&M, sorry. There's a new one down there, Payne.
And from the looks of their lot out there, they must be selling more
They can get money, they
than
go.
normal. So, you know,
You don't know when it's gonna hit and how long.
What's
Yeah,
their email figure?
TML said don't increase it. Don't increase your budget.
No,
They said-
you just said
that's what
don't
they
increase.
said. They said,
It's a cut.
they said that you might look at cutting because of some of the, it just depends on your.
Area, territory, they see.
Your
What
territory.
if they cut the range? Did they give a range or did they just say it?
They didn't say.
I've not seen any percentage about reducing. I've just heard you need to be very conservative.
Yeah,
And that's on.
And that's why I reduced 20% on the, local option, because you just don't know.
And then
It
you
may not be enough.
yeah, and then you just take a look at it 2 months into the year and see what you got, because it could be the scenario where we're not affected as much as everybody.
And I mean, there's not a lot of fluff in that budget that I can see.
And I was looking at your state share stuff and everything, it matches up to what TMA. Well, they said that your state shared sales tax is gonna be a little bit lower.
Well, the gas is gonna affect our, street aid. Because that's where, that money goes right into that street aid.
Yeah, they said that may actually be kind of level
Well,
because,
I raised the gas a little bit based on what, UTM task said. But I'm a very conservative person when it comes to,
In this article right here, numbers are gonna go down next year. State share tax per capita right now, sales tax right now is $90 per capita. Next year is 80.
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna go down. Their
Yeah.
projections are, things are going down. Petroleum product tax, it stayed the same, but that depends on sales. Let's see here, total general revenue is down $10. Total general fund revenue, state, street and fund gasoline motor tax, it's down.
Yeah, that's.
Everything, street aid fund, it's all down for 2021, and we're just in the 1920 right now.
And one
And we're
thing,
doing
in case that
2021.
you have to pay when the grants come in to wait
I'm
for the
sorry.
money to come in too.
Okay.
That's a thing, too. That's an ouch sometimes, isn't it? Yes. We have to just consider it all.
All these new territories where they have storm.
Yeah, they're
all that storm, like storm, flood out those sorts of areas like that. We'll be blessed.
Yeah,
It
we have.
hard like some areas.
Yeah.
They're still digging out some storm, not worried about much. I think that's much.
Well, and like you said, Terry said on the other end of the county, some of them don't even got back in their home yet.
Right,
And they're not getting
I
it.
know he said that.
Yeah. So, we are fortunate.
Tima was in here Friday. Didn't know they were coming. Did you, Mayor? I didn't know they were coming, but they came,
They bring a check.
talked with us.
They spent more time out there talking to Danny and Tony than they did us. They were out there going over stuff with them. Kind of work. Well, I mean, they're out.
Yeah, we are, I know that.
I don't even know if they were planning on coming in here. I invited them in. They came here, they got right back out, didn't they? But they talked for a long time, Danny. did.
Did you ever go to Yarborough?
Yes.
Go get that, go look at it.
That's all I know to do. And it's not just yard, I have other places too.
We hear you, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to get him up there, and establish where the line is. We need to do that. Where was that other place? Anybody else?
John McFadden.
Behind
Yeah,
John.
John McFadden, we're gonna have to get that taken care of.
That road behind John's, that two there, that road behind on the Gardner's, that's where they,
Yeah.
the same place.
That creek is just not on the right of way. It don't look like it. Might be a couple of places. And I don't know if it comes in and hits it here and there, does that count? Can you go in there and work and not the other part, or does that give you the reason to go on in on the other part? And clean it out? McFadden he's stirring it up again. So
That's,
it's just a matter of, what we're gonna do, when we go in there and do. The only way we're gonna get it figured out, get that right of way marker.
Get back to the other stuff that we can't know control.
Well, he placed up there getting this last way. A lot better than yours is.
He sent in enough pictures, and it's not there at his place. But going up the creek there above him, all this stuff that's collected in the creek, he wants it cleaned out. That's just it. I don't know if we can go in there and clean that out without getting on private property.
So creeks were T-Dick anyway. Because creeks were T-Deck anyway. That's why Terry can't fix a lot of the south end because the regulations are working in the creek.
Well, I've got the same problem. I mean, our company cut all those trees, left those logs.
Hmm.
And they came down there and stopped up the creek, ran that creek all over my place down there. They keep going there and fix that. It wasn't my fault.
Get back to your budget. That stuff you put in there on the state shared portion, make that fairly close to what this article had in it.
Okay.
And that's the one that I got the email on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Uh,
Well, we can always look at it, like say December, take a look at where we are. And if we need to make an adjustment, do a budget amendment, this isn't, casting concrete or anything, so we can always make a change.
What about on your festivals? We got the money in for the Fourth of July and Sorry Festival, is that?
Well, now you're,
Oh, I know it's never, it would be this next year.
Next year, yes.
4th of July would be.
well, some of the 4th of July falls in both fiscal years. It's kind of half and half, because she has to get things ordered before the 4th of July. But
I
now,
don't know, we're gonna have to.
I was thinking that the mayor had said that probably we would not have the
This
Freedom Fest.
Well, here's the thing. Johnson City's not having theirs, somebody else having theirs, so if we have one, all these people, not all of them, but a lot of these people are gonna come over here. I just don't see how you're gonna be able
Get
to.
them all in.
We can't,
Yeah, well, maybe we couldn't have them.
we'd have a class, which would be worse than the Walmart.
And I think the fireworks have to be ordered a few weeks in advance.
I think our-
I agree with that.
this year, canceled, everything's been canceled everywhere.
Last of May, I think is when the fireworks, some of it last of
Well,
May.
let's just let Mark do the fireworks again like it is.
At his house,
Yeah.
Do it on the lawn.
Say everybody will be doing their own fireworks.
Yeah, backyard.
They will.
But
I
that's-
bet the fireworks stores are loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that. Well, I know that, I had heard that Johnson City said it would save them $60,000. So,
Ours is what, 12,000?
Well, when you've got budgetary issues anyway,
Yeah,
that's an easy place to cut some money, especially when it's as expensive as
Yeah.
Johnson
That's what-
City.
And we really don't know if they'll be doing the movies in the park in the fall. I mean, we really don't know yet, do we? You know,
no.
so that's another
The
thing.
first book got advertised.
We don't know if the kids will go back.
Well, if there's not public school next fall, it's gonna be a big, big issue.
Yes, it will be.
I think parents just
Yes.
gone as far as they can go.
Well, a lot of our students are upset. Probably a little bit about having to come back into class, but a lot of their daycares and childcare situations are not open. And most of our students have children. So and there's another reason they need it to be online. I mean, a lot of their childcare locations are not. And that's legitimate.
And a lot of people didn't graduate.
It's hard enough to do it
Some
online with
some
kids
of the
around the house
weddings
running
was
around.
canceled.
It's hard enough to do
Funerals
it at home.
canceled.
Jimmy's
Weddings
fixing
and
his
big
home.
kids.
I know. I had one
And four,
niece that
they have to
lives out in
go
Oregon and
That's
theirs
not
was
how
gonna be
they do
July and they already canceled theirs.
and the grades and the songs and everything. They love it.
Well, they do to a certain extent until they don't feel like when they're having to go take their licensing exam. And they haven't worked as hard as they should have worked.
They can't pass.
Because the system has gaps. It's hard to hold them as accountable as we need to hold them accountable
Mhm.
online. Because they want it to be easy.
Mhm.
With this right here beside you. This will be our first class who just right now is going through the process to get approved to take their licensing exam. They finished their third semester for the most part online. So we'll see if that affected them any. Our next students to graduate will have done like a semester and a half online. And Ballard doesn't see any anticipated date when they're gonna open up for clinical. So they probably, this one probably won't miss any clinical time. And they graduate in August. So we'll see. They won't get any actual hands-on with real people. But we can do simulation clinical time. And we have a fancy lab that breathes and has heart sounds and breath sounds and pulses and coughs and blinks and you can put a microphone on to talk. You can do all that. And they get us freaked out about that as if it were a real person. It's all. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but there's no moving where you find it.
You know, aside from having to match grants, this RW Bridge and all, we've got a good budget. I mean,
We're, if you take the grants out of it, our operations are
we're okay.
funded.
Yeah.
Funded except, there's some things I'd like to address.
Everything just fell in place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Timing was all.
Unexpected, yeah. But then the plus side of it, we did get the grant from the governor, which we ordinarily wouldn't have had. That was the lesson.
But we're
That
showing,
was surplus, that was budget surplus.
Mm-hmm.
See, that RW Bridge, you're talking about $500,000.
Yes, and you have to pay.
That's paid up front,
That's right, yeah.
and so that has to go
So
into our
they has
budget.
to-
That thing took
You
off.
get it back.
Yeah,
But
but
still
you,
have to
yeah,
pay the
matter of
That
time.
thing took off on me, that bridge wasn't.
Well, they know we can do about it now, though.
No, I mean, they're doing it, aren't they?
In hindsight, it'd been better just to put a little smaller bridge and not let Terry do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we got, this was paid for.
I started
We're
saying
getting
we would
money
have
back
to
on
still
it.
pay for that.
my family might have some land they want to sell down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, what Ty Seaver said was logical.
Mhm.
A good bridge going into all that land, that's a lot of land in there, that someday, you know, could be developed.
One of them's for sale right now, right there. Mr. Edwards,
That's what I called me, asked about that fruit stand there.
But Mr. Edwards,
They combine crop there, is there a building there, or shed there or something?
don't think so.
They were no, there's something there that they were no, making that up, one cut up, building up, not houses, building up. They were produce out there or something.
What's Callaway Cousins? I know he cleaned it up and it looks great.
There you go.
Is he gonna do his fruits? Is he gonna, Callaway put down?
He did a good job.
He did do a good job, but I noticed they're putting a roof on the other place where he had the car lot or whatever, McLaughlin's had first. I don't know what he's gonna do with that. I thought, reckon he's gonna do a fruit stand there. Maybe. I don't know. But they're repairing the roof on it now. They were working on it.
Is Callaway in town there?
I ain't seen Fred.
Said he works in out of state, Florida or somewhere.
I don't know, I haven't seen him since that restaurant shut down out there.
Yeah. Oh, wow, yeah, I'd say it's been a long time.
First time we saw him was at the meeting when he came to present it, you know, what he's gonna do.
Okay, I'm gonna get back to the budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
We took our break.
Let me jump in on a couple of things. We went to the ambulance meeting and had to stay there because I was the one that made the quorum. So I had to stay so they could conduct business. Apologize for not getting back. Their budget, they did not vote on it. He had budgeted with a smaller amount, but he told me for us to budget the full thing, and right off the bat on their budget, it's going to increase because they don't have their health insurance figure correct. They're going to piggyback off the county, and the county looks like it's going to change health insurance carriers, and there is a slight increase. So that money will probably be eaten up anyway. So he said budget what was in the interlocal agreement. 28 figure.
Darwin put anything in Or we put anything in.
No, for 2
They
years.
don't have to, yeah.
The county will be paying the Irwin portion, which that's our money too, but, anyway. Now, on the animal shelter, has anybody, have they not met yet, have they? It's in my opinion, it's in everybody's best interest to redo that interlocal agreement. The same as we did when, the R1 animal control officer was there for a while, Mr. Hatcher, and then stuff happened and he was gone, they redid. And then when Tim Shelton was an animal control officer paid by the sheriff's department, and then that got changed a few years ago. So, that whole thing just needs to be redone, revisited, and.
Lopsided.
And it's lopsided, and it says that they would have 2 animal control officers full-time. I don't know that they need 2 full-time, but the agreement we're working under right now says 2. So it's in everybody's best interest to sit down and just redo that thing and get it right, because the agreement right now is, doesn't match what current, needs and statuses are.
It was a town of Unicoi that kept pushing the envelope on
It
the
pushes,
shelter
pushing for a
to
new,
get the second.
pushing for a new interlocal agreement,
No, y'all
or,
are not pushing
or,
for a new envelope.
or abide by the one
Jeff,
that
I've
they
been
have.
in the same meetings you've been in. I respectfully disagree.
Well,
That has never come before the board to ask the animal welfare board to create a new interlocal agreement. It hasn't, Jeff.
well,
I'm
it's not
sorry.
been in our board meetings, but it was.
It has
was
not ever
mentioned.
come before the animal welfare board either,
Okay.
as long as I've been on it.
We just got to go over a piece of power to get that down to the guy and say, man.
That's all that came out of town of Unicoi, to speak to the fire to get that second officer. Now, we
You
got
have to
one.
abide by the agreement that they entered into. And-
Now, it is not, and it's not so easy. This is an interlocal agreement with 3 entities.
Uh-huh.
You will put more funding on the other entities, so.
They won't go, I don't know about that.
It's gonna be, it's not gonna be as simple. And if the motivation is to reduce the amount the county Unicoi pays, according to that state plan, if that's the real motive, just say it.
That is to get it more in line with the
Just
services that we.
I don't think it has anything to do, I don't think that concern is about
You
the
know what,
second
there's
animal
also in
control
there,
officer.
we can also get out.
I don't think it has to do with the second
Started,
officer.
so we
I
can
think
budget
it,
what we
it
want
has to
to.
do with the
We can get out of that animal show.
It has to do with getting the
I mentioned
service
that a
for,
long time ago.
it has to do with getting the service
Exactly.
that we're paying
And
for.
I still can't figure out how the county measures that service. How do you measure that? Go find dogs to pick up so you can tell them on the machine?
Now, I look,
I measure it 2 ways. I measure it by visual, how many times I see them out here, and that doesn't mean going up here and out the exit, going on Johnson City Highway, going to Johnson City. That means out in the community. And I also measure it on the complaints that I've got. There are 2 or 3 of them laying over there somewhere on my desk now.
So you're measuring complaints, not necessarily measuring on calls that were completed.
Well, the ratio of
And
the
They're
calls,
not gonna drive around and burn fuel they don't need to
The
run.
ratio of
look out for
calls
animals.
is way off compared to the other calls down there and calls here, and how much time it's been out here.
Again, we're very
I measure it
agricultural
by
out
phone
here.
calls.
It's
I
lopsided.
measure it by phone calls that I get, where they call down there and there's nobody there to answer the phone.
Why are they calling you?
They call me because I'm an alderman, they say, why can't I get in touch with you down there to come out here to my house?
That's right.
There was
I'm
one
on the
out.
board and they don't call me.
It's not-
Ginger's the board of directors, they don't call me.
I know one guy that
Just
stopped
saying.
me at the post office and he said that there was a bunch of dogs in one house that ran all the time. And he said he called so much that they hang up that they know his voice and him calling, you know. So, I mean, I'm just saying, and I think I even came down to town hall and told him we had complaints.
But some people, I get one, get some, I see where it drops off the animal shelter. I mean, it's, you know, it's not right, but I do, you know, cat or dog, somewhere, somebody pick it up or down.
I'll just go ahead and say, my call was from Tommy Landingham.
Yep.
He hasn't let anything go.
Now, there was a.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a,
like the same people that complain about the same things repeatedly.
What about the guy that come here to the front door the other day that's been bit? Been bitten.
Mhm.
Who was here? Was you here, Davey? Somebody was here.
Yes.
So was the dog here that did he?
I don't know.
I don't know. We got a hold of, they're trying to get a hold of them down there, and it's hard to get a
I
hold
think
of.
someone at the Welcome Center got the dog and knew who the dog belonged to. And he came down here to, you know,
Well, if he's in a dog fight, we need to go get that. People are stupid. I don't know who that was.
Rasmussen or Rasmussen or something, his name. He's pretty concerned.
Well, and that's a definite violation. The dog shouldn't have, I mean, that's a definite violation.
And I got another, I've got a note over there, somebody else that they can't get service out of them.
Well, they have been down due to COVID. Tomorrow's actually the first day to open back up on regular schedule.
This was before the COVID, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Landingham one.
yeah.
Well, it's like people calling in here about their votes. There's gonna be people calling complaining
Mhm.
about everything. And if you put all your complaints in one vote and nothing else, that's all you see. You gotta have a different perspective, so.
But at the end of the day, have we done our share? We think that what we've done for the shelter, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you know, that's at the end of the day, all the problems, and she's right there, we will have problems in everything. But are we fair with our budget? With us and real property tax, that's the thing.
I don't think
Yeah,
property
it's a
tax has
problem.
anything to do
Well, I'm
with
just
it.
saying we
I
don't
think
have
the
as
town
much
entered
revenue.
into a local
I'm
agreement,
just
and that's all it is.
I'm just saying with property taxes, we don't have as much as what the rest do have to give. And some of them, they, you know, I think we're giving our fair share with what we've got.
The town entered into a local agreement. I don't know what year it was.
I remember how Lois went through that, Lord of mercy, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that last local agreement stuff, remember?
Keep a historical file on every time we renegotiate one of these agreements or policies or whatever, and our animal shelter agreement's the largest one. So
That's what I remember,
because it keeps being an issue.
But I don't see why you can't take the reports and see the ratio of the animals in the different parts of the county. And it's plain as daylight to me that what goes on out here is not an equal 1/3 of what goes on with the animal shelter. It's easy for me to see that just in that report. And of course, I quit sending that for a while, you know. Then when they finally started sending it again. But that report on those animals tells the story.
Was the funding in the original interlocal agreement based on service or based on 3 entities dividing it evenly?
Well, there was a.
So it was a mistake to enter under 3 entities dividing equally if
Originally, that's what-
you really
Well-
wanted something else.
Well, the funding was divided equally, and that's what I'm talking about. It's not equal.
Funding,
Yeah, but we,
You
Equal.
fund it, yeah.
There
If
was
you
a-
fund
there
it
was a-
equal, then you need the return equal.
There was a concept at one time of having multiple officers to serve different areas, like Irwin originally, when they entered in the agreement, I don't think they really cared at that time whether anybody else joined in with them or not. They had their own service, they were happy to run it. They had one officer. And so the idea was there would be one that would work in Unicoi, and there would be a county officer. It's kind of like everybody would have responsibility for one. And it's, morphed into now 2 and down to 1.
but
So
that
that's-
wasn't in the original interlocal agreement.
Yes, it was. It was.
Well, how-
The concept originally was Irwin keeps their officer, and then there would be shared service in the other areas. And there may have even been a provision that the Irwin officer would work only in Irwin. I know it was, they would pay him or that officer only. So that's how we got on the 1/3 and the officers in various areas. And I think what the mayor's just reflecting is he doesn't see as it's changed, how we structured it, that there's as much service out here as we anticipated in the beginning. We thought in the beginning it would be kind of equal.
But the current interlocal agreement doesn't say there'll be a dedicated county employee officer.
Oh, no.
That seems to be what I'm hearing from you, though, that when you
No.
entered it, you had an expectation
county-
that
The county,
they would be out here.
yeah, the county and the employee officer, the idea was that they would share their work and work everywhere. And it just hadn't panned out that way because there hadn't been as many calls here. I don't know what the calls are in the south end and the rest of the county. And there's no point in having the animal shelter spending money on service that's not needed if it's not needed. But we do need to figure out, some kind of balance in terms of the funding is supposed to just be everybody pays 1/3 without consideration of those issues, then that same thing ought to be said. That's what we agree on.
Well, I
But I don't know that we ever did agree that there wouldn't be an expectation of significant service out here.
how many budget years ago it was, I asked why we were funding the animal shelter, and everybody went, "But if we pull out, they'll close." And now I'm involved with the animal shelter, and I'm seeing what they're doing with their limited budget. I'm like,
Well, it's just like
boy,
always.
everybody
everybody's
freaked out though when I
increases.
mentioned that however many years ago that was.
That's the first time that we mentioned that the interlocal agreement was not proper. Okay, Roger was on the board down there and Roger was on our board.
Even Roger says he doesn't recall ever having a request to change the
That does
interlocal.
not surprise me.
Ginger Ray didn't ever remember a request to change the interlocal.
Debbie,
I'm
Debbie, I
just saying.
noticed, you handed us that road repair quote on road repair by Terry.
Yes.
Did you want to go over that?
She did.
No, we didn't go over that part.
She went over the Massachusetts.
Our-
Asphalt
our-
cost and whisper, the whole project.
that we didn't have to do.
That's fine. Sorry. That's all right. We'll go to the
Okay, so this, the Massachusetts Avenue, we talked about the left side first, which would have been 14 tiles, 18 by 20. I think we talked about using 16-inch to 18-inch, and I think we were talking about using 18-inch. Also, the labor and use of equipment, $11,000, and so total estimated cost for the left side was $25,000. And then to me,
That's for both sides,
no, that's for,
just the left side.
I think that's just the left side. And then to do both sides, which I think if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it all, do it right. We would add another $6,000 to it.
Total
Yeah,
31.
what you did at those.
Yeah. Now, your budget's showing 30 because on Friday he had estimated 30. So this was sent this morning, when he got back into the office and had Patty, work this up. So we'd have to go back and change that $1,000. Ogle Road was the 30, which is the same quote that we've gotten last fall, for the FEMA. You all had mentioned at the last workshop that, you thought, 15,000 for the used police car could be taken out of that money as well, and that is correct. So then what leaves, the balance left, we thought, well, guardrails are very important, especially, in the curve that you all were talking about. I know that you don't have to do all the guardrail at once. You can do it in sections. So that's pretty much, where that $108,939 is gone.
Okay.
Of course, if the guardrails are a little bit more, we could always take that money out of the street repair, take some out of there. If you wanted to do another section and there's a little bit difference in the money.
You had, also, you gave us a copy of Larry's quotes on this, Whisper Pines cost of asphalt at that particular time. And what if, and then we're talking about 96 to 98 per ton, is that gonna stay the same, or is there, did he mention anything about that?
Well, that's another situation you have with this, asphalt plant. And if they get that open, if they don't get it open in time, then you've got to go to Bluntville to get the asphalt, so that's gonna add cost to it as well. I don't know how the fuel is going to play into this also.
He said late summer, I think, on opening, didn't
He said middle of the summer,
he? Middle
so.
summer, okay.
Let's go, August.
So are we pretty well on schedule on that Whisper Pines? He had a whole project of 191,000. Is that, are we running about right on that? We've got another third of it to go.
Yes.
Okay. And these other figures down here, Landingham Road, Lard Road.
Well, all of those roads, all that quote was all done because of the FEMA project. That's the 4 roads that's on FEMA.
Okay.
Now, right now, the status with that is, things, based on what I can understand, it gets to a certain level and then either moves forward to the next level or it gets pushed back. Well, ours, the last time was pushed back. This is going back a couple of weeks ago. They wanted more information. So that's been provided to them, and now it's moved back to the next level. So we're just waiting to see, okay, does it keep going? Or does it get pushed back again? So.
Well, another thing that's going on with FEMA is the group that came down and went around and we spent 2 days going around looking at all this stuff. They're all gone. Those people have moved on to other jobs or whatever. They've got new people. And then when they get these new people in, they basically want to just start you all over again.
That seems to be what's happened. We're on our 3rd person now. She's great to work with. She's been the best. Donna Wingler, I can't say enough good things about her because none of this has been her fault. It goes to the next level and it gets pushed back or they want something else or whatever. So I'm trying to be positive about it and hope that we can get, some money from them.
Okay.
And since we've designated now, we're going to go ahead and use Oval on the 108,939, then we still have 3 roads that we can, if we get any money, we'll take care of those.
And if we get tired of waiting, we can go back and do them too. Right.
Maybe didn't. Yeah, we'll just have to see how much, of course, it's not a lot of money for the other 3.
Well, if they're on the priority list, that,
And they're on the FEMA list, priority list.
so that trail extension, 41,990,774, that's a planning, right? $125,000 planning study. Correct.
Yes, yeah, we reduced the revenue portion and reduced the next year, because I don't see that happening this year. And and everybody was so, so I felt pretty comfortable taking that on. It's the connector trail between Irwin and County Airport. It's a community trail project grant, CTPG.
Would keep it in there like that. So you took it out.
We took it
I
out.
got our one, is our one still in there?
Our CCPG grants.
Our probably don't have 30 right now. Trying to get them to before.
They're supposed to know about it this week.
I can go for it. That's what happened.
Hey,
Or if you see the reports, think they can-
I think Earl was supposed to announce Thursday tonight, maybe, or this week, maybe.
I don't know.
Doris said she'd like to have one announced this week.
They got it down to 2 people. You know who they are? It's in there from Earl.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. Well, good luck to them. I hope we go ahead and get that. They didn't get that take. Hey, this is a bad time to have. So we went through that. Bad time to have to look at city report. We just went through the same.
We asked her, say we went.
Yeah.
Doris just handled it.
Well, yeah, Doris. Yeah.
She's what Travis does.
Well, they're lucky that she is there. She stepped up for us one time. But came out, did city order, we got that right.
She's traveled across the state.
Very confident. All righty. Okay, any other areas that anybody wants to pick on?
And we will have some extra money too, for like the strawberry festival and things from this out of our budget, what we budgeted. We will have that money extra too, won't we? And if we don't.
And we have
do the
refunded
fireworks.
for the people that had sent in money for their booths and this and that, we did a check run. Let's see, what is today?
I think it was
Monday.
Friday.
I think it was Friday. We did a check run, to return their money. Yeah, right, their money.
Yeah, I thought that'd be more money, but
I think it
We
ended up
actually
being
had a lot of
close to
people
$1,000.
requesting, is was there a further event in the future that they could transfer the money over to? And I said, unfortunately, no. And not only that, you're dealing with 2 budget cycles, so you wouldn't want that anyway.
And some may want their money back, some don't, then you'd be confused on that.
Well, there was one that likes to pay in advance, but I wanted to go ahead and refund all their money, and that way we'll start over.
New year and you.
Are they here?
I see her backing in. Oh, I'm thinking it might be them.
Oh. All right, lunchtime.
You see her backing in. I'm just gonna get out of the way.
All right.
Let's see who that was called.
Probably somebody can hold on.
I don't have a job. I'm getting you no money today.
They don't ask for money, do they?
If you won't give me no raise. I don't tell you. I know. No, I said, when she did the budget, it's so much easier on the board, on all of this, when she's working on the budget. Too bad we pay her.
I'm glad.
Too bad we pay you. Hold that check. Come in.
Hey there. How are you? Thank you, appreciate that. You cool enough now? How are you doing today? I'm good. I like your scarf.